Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Culinary and Wine segment brought to you by Bice Cucina, today we're featuring Celebrity Chef Ashish Aldred. He combines his classical training from the French Culinary Institute in Manhattan. A serial entrepreneur with multiple Maryland restaurants to his credit, Chef Al is regularly featured in the media, even competed on Food Network's Cutthroat Kitchen and Chopped. Now, overcoming an addiction to drugs and alcohol, Chef Alfred has frequently shared his journey on recovery and redemption. He was named Maryland's Chef of the Year in 2019 by the Maryland Restaurant Association. Today, he's here to chat food, career, and the global rise in vegan and plant-based eating. Now, outside of countries and cultures where abstaining from animal products was part of spiritual or moral beliefs, diets that limited or excluded meat, dairy products, and eggs have often been seen as fads, especially in the US and many European countries. Plus, meat-free food options used to be difficult to find outside of certain stores, and even then, they weren't always appetizing. But now, all that is changing, and quickly, in a big way. The global rise in plant-based foods has officially arrived. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing Chef Ashish Aldred. Welcome, superstar.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Absolutely. Okay, let's jump right into this headliner and then we can circle back to your amazing career. So, even as little as less than a decade ago, those identifying as vegetarian, vegan, or plant based were often viewed as weird or extreme, more to the domain of hippies and activists rather than large numbers of everyday people. And many headlines made veganism sound like a surefire way to become nutrient deficient, even using fear tactics to prevent parents from raising their kids on plant foods. Where does a plant-based lifestyle stand today? And can you still balance out the flavors and nutrients just as effectively, Chef?
I think the short answer to your question, to the second part of your question, is yes. I think that as far as making flavors work, you can make them work. Making textures work, you can make them work. I think like a lot of other things that we have seen grow in popularity, whether it is an alternative lifestyle, whatever it might be. I need to be really careful what I say. Whatever it might be, I think that there's just a growing desire among people to find different ways of living and getting through their day to day. I think that, for me as a chef, the frustrating part of it is when people don't know what they're talking about, right? Like people will come in and they expect you at a steakhouse to have, vegan options. That's where it gets a little bit frustrating for me. Like, why didn't you do your research before you showed up to the restaurant?
But yeah, no, I get it. No, you're right. And it's interesting because you're right. You could balance out those nutrients, and the plant-based lifestyle today is very popular. Like you said, people are just expecting that it's, available, readily available at every type of restaurant, and it's just not the case. But in 2020, there was a plant-based study done, and the plant-based dairy and meat sales were over $29 billion, and they were projected to increase to $162 billion by the year 2030. This means that plant-based meat and dairy alternatives are already making up nearly 10% of the so-called global protein foods market. And according to the Bloomberg Intelligence report, plant-based food sales are expected to increase fivefold by the year 2030, Chef. So it's interesting because, many people have observed that millennials seem to be central drivers of this worldwide shift away from consuming animal products and really normalizing, plant-based eating and leading consumer demand. But the plant-based movement is bigger than any one generation because everyone from celebrities to athletes to entire companies, including Google and countries as big as China, are supporting the movement to eat more plant-based foods. So there's definitely something there, but that's just my opinion. Now, I'm going to shift to your journey. So overcoming addiction to drugs and alcohol, you frequently share your road of recovery and redemption. What was the catalyst to turning your life around?
To put it simply, I think, you almost die a couple times. And unfortunately for me, it took a couple times. And it just became a time for me to do something different. My family was played a big role. They supported me in my early endeavors as a chef. And when they kind of drew the line in the sand and they said, hey, we don't really want anything to do with you unless you do something different, it was time for me to make some changes. But I think that the major catalyst was I I overdosed in the middle of the road. I passed out, fell over, busted my chin open, spit out my teeth, super glued my face shut. Bad day at the office.
Just a little, right? But you know what? You picked up the pieces of that very broken puzzle and you put yourself back together again, stronger than ever. So congratulations on that. Now, how did you get started in the culinary arts and how would you describe your cooking style?
I got started kind of totally by accident. I did the community college thing for a little while. Mom got tired of paying for classes, and I needed to find something to do. So I went to culinary school kind of on a whim, just looking for a ticket to New York City, I kind of fell in love with the structure, the simplicity, the regimen of being in a kitchen. And I think that that's kind of emulated in my culinary style. I'm not the guy that's trying to reinvent the wheel. You've got phenomenal chefs that do like really out of the box things. That's not me. Not saying that I don't consider myself a good chef, but I like to keep it simple, seasonal, flavor forward, things that make sense.
Yeah, and I think the simplicity, there's, a gentle strength is stronger. There's less and more, right? I mean, there's more and less. And over the next 10 years, it's expected that the US is going to need about 10,000 personal chefs. Small but niche market that you seem to have total control over in Baltimore and beyond. So again, congratulations. Now, the context in which to view the private chef industry is that one of the gig economy, so to speak. Instead of renting a house or catching a ride, one is renting an experience with a private chef. Now you're very much in demand. It's not just your cooking; it's you. You are the rock star of their night. Would you call yourself an entertainer?
I think that food stimulates people the same way that music and art does. So I think that if you're going to be a successful chef today, you got to be able to dance the dance. It's not just about what you put on the plate. It's about what you bring to your own brand as a chef.
And you do that effectively well. I mean, you are a celebrity chef. You have a lot of celebrities and VIPs following you, lots of friends that are supporting your restaurants and even dining at them. So it's quite interesting the way that you've really not only turned your life around, but you are your own brand. It goes beyond culinary arts. This is an entire business. It's your entrepreneurial. Now, how many restaurants do you currently own and where? And I'm interested to know, how do they all differ? But I know that they all remain in theme. Talk to me about that.
So right now we have two Duck Duck Geese, one in Baltimore, one in Washington, D.C. We are in the process of opening our very first Good Ducking Burger, which should be done any day now. We have Osteria Parata, which is 2 months old, and then we have the Anchor Bar, which is a tavern space also here in Baltimore. So I think the common denominator across the spaces is just simple, delicious, affordable, fun food, if that makes sense. So we're not like super fancy restaurants. We're also not super casual restaurants. What differs is, there's a Duck Duck Goose in Baltimore. There's a Duck Duck Goose in DC. The menus are different. It's two different clienteles, and I think that being mindful and respectful of that is what's helped us be successful in those two different markets.
Yeah, you definitely have it all covered. Now, what invaluable entrepreneurial advice can you share?
Ooh. Show up. Show up. Half the job is just showing up. More than half the job really is just showing up. You do a lot more by showing up than just by either quitting or kind of tucking your head under the sand.
Yeah, good advice. There you go. I mean, you speak directly into your brand's identity. Simple. Show up. Can't get any more simple than that. Now, let's do quick trivia. We have about 3 minutes left, and I would like to get your short answers off the, as they roll off the tongue. Okay. What's your favorite cuisine to consume?
Diner food.
What's your favorite cuisine to cook?
French food.
Most challenging dish you've ever had to make?
My culinary school final exam, we had to make a 5-layer opera cake from memory.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been hard.
I'm still in therapy because of it.
Yeah. Your most popular dish?
Beef Wellington.
The most viral dish?
We did a pomme aligot. So it's like potatoes with cheese in it. You just whip it and whip it and whip it, and then you stretch it like a yo-yo almost, and then you kind of serve it tableside. It's just one of those things that people. Yep.
Oh, ooh, that sounds mouth warming and delicious. Now, if you could be anything but a chef, what would you be?
Doctor.
Interesting. What's one fact that people do not know about you?
I played the violin.
There you go. I love it. Okay, well, we are out of time. What are the next current projects you're working on? I'd love to know and promote you.
We've got a book coming out called Just the Tips. It's about my life in the restaurant industry, or just I shouldn't say my. It's about life in the restaurant industry. We're almost there on a pretty cool TV show. I can't say what it is yet, but we're knocking on its door. We've got a couple other restaurant opportunities that are looking us in the face right now. So big things for this next year, but I will not sign the contracts for the next couple of weeks.
That's right. Mercury's in retrograde. Well, thank you so much for an incredible interview. You are so much fun to chat with.
Thank you.
Absolutely, guys. Definitely check out Chef Ashish Aldred on the gram. That was our Culinary and Wine segment brought to you by Bice Cucina, but you definitely have to check him out at Chef Ashish Aldred. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.